Good afternoon, my YouTube viewers. It's Crystal here. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to cover lesson 6 of my lesson 5 of my basic Excel course. And lesson 5 is working with rows and columns. So if you've watched lesson 1 to 4, you will see that we actually did some work with rows and columns in all 4 of those lessons, or definitely 2, 3, and 4. So you should already know about working with rows and columns a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're just going to go over what we've covered in lesson 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to formalize what we've done in working with rows and columns. And so by now, if you've watched the previous 4 lessons, by now you should know how to get in Excel. So we're just going to go into the taskbar and click onto Excel. And then so this is the lesson on working on rows and columns. And you can see we're going to be doing 12. We're going to be doing 12 aspects of this course. So the first thing we're going to do is, we're going to be doing 12 numbers of this course, and we're going to go through all 12 numbers. So this is working with rows and columns. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to delete a row. I'm going to delete row 2. And so how you delete row 2 is as you click onto the row, click onto row 2. And there's 2 ways that you can do it. You can either, on your finger pad, you can double click on the finger pad and click on to delete. That's one way you can do it. And another way you can do it is click on to delete on the home tab in the ribbon, and you can say delete rows. So we're going to go ahead and delete rows, and you can see that we've deleted the rows. And another thing that we're going to do is we are going to resize the columns. So what we want is we want column A to be big enough, wide enough to enclose all of the length or the width of the 12 steps. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your finger pad and you're going to put it on the right side of column A, and with your left finger, you're going to touch the finger pad with your left finger, and you're going to move it till the end of the word columns. And then when you move it to the end of the word columns, then you can see that the column A is big enough to hold the width of all 12 instructions. So what I'm going to do now is, even after I deleted that column, deleted that row, I decided I want to go ahead and insert 2 rows. So again, you come over to number 2, you double click on it, and you say insert, and row 2 again, you double click on it, and you say insert again. So you can see there's 2 ways that you can insert a row. And those 2 ways that you insert the row is either highlighting the row, double clicking on the row with your finger pad, and then clicking on to insert, or you can go to format, and then on format or insert, you can say insert rows that way. So there's 2 ways that you can insert rows and columns. So what we're going to do, we've got our title here, working with rows and columns. So we're going to say right here in row 3, we're going to say instruction. And then we're going to say instruction on row 3. And then that's what we're going to have in column A. In column B, we're going to say completed. So column B is going to be completed. And again, we're going to resize column B to make it just a little bit bigger so the word completed fits within the cell totally. So you go to on the right side of column B, you take your finger pad and you put your cross on the right side of column B. With your left hand, you touch your finger pad with your left hand, and then with your right hand, you move your finger pad until it's the width that you want. So far, what we have done is we have inserted a row. And so I think what would be nice would be to insert a special image. That's what I think would be a good idea. So let's say insert, and it's going to be a symbol. We're going to look over here, click on the symbols, and then we're going to click onto the arrow. Well, we don't want an arrow, we want a symbol. So we're going to click onto the symbol, and what I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for a check. See if I can find a check. So I'm just looking for a check that I want to insert in that cell. So I can't find a check in that cell. It says recently used symbols, and sometimes it says special characters. So let's see if we can find a check in special characters. See what we can find. So I don't see a check. I'm just looking for a check. I don't do this very often. Let's say subject, basic Latin, IPA, combining. So I don't use these special symbols very often. So we're just going to look. We're going to look, see what we can find. I'm looking for a check. Let's try dingbats. So you can look at the square root under dingbats, but you can't really see the check. Oh, here's a check. Here's a check. So you insert a check, and then you insert. So that's what we want. We want to insert a check. But also, we don't want it to be on the left side of the cell. We want it to be centered. So what we're going to do is we're going to select cell B4, and then we're going to take Shift and the down key, the down arrow key, all the way down, and you're going to come to Home, and it's going to be centered. So that means this check is going to be centered. So we went through an example of inserting a row. That's check. We went through an example of deleting a row. That's check. We went through an example of resizing a column. So that's check. So now let's say we want to insert a column. So we're just going to say right here, so we're going to insert a column here. We're going to actually resize the column. So we're going to do what we've been doing this whole time. We're going to find the, on the stylus on our finger pad, we're going to select the right side of the cell. And then with our left finger, we're going to touch the finger pad and we're going to move it. So this is how we're going to insert a column. So you click onto the column right here, you double click on it, and you say insert. So now, you know, previously we had insert column in column D, but we have inserted a column, and because we have inserted a column, now this insert column is on column E. So I'll show you how to do it again. We're going to undo what we did. You see the insert column is on column D. And then we double click and you type insert and then you get it there in column D. And so now insert column is on column E. Another thing that you can do, click onto E where it says insert column. You can come over here where it says insert and you can say insert column. And now you can see that column F now says insert column. So I showed you two ways to insert a column. I showed you how to insert a column with using the finger pad, and I showed you how to insert a column using the ribbon on the Home tab. So we're going to click here. We're going to click copy to copy the symbol. That's Control C. We're going to select the symbol. We're going to select the cell we want, and we're going to click Control V to insert the symbol. So now what we're going to do is we're going to delete a column. That's the next task. So you come over here to column F, because you remember this insert column started in column D, and then the first time we inserted a column, it moved to column E, and the second time we inserted a column, it moved to column F. But now what we want to do is we want to delete the column. So you double click on it on your finger bar, and you click delete, and that's going to delete your column. So we'll type delete column again in column F, and we're going to resize it by taking the finger bar and putting the cross on the right side of F and touching it with the finger pad with our left finger, and then we move it with our right finger. So we're going to highlight the column. So we showed you how to delete the column the first time just by using the finger tab, the finger pad. But now we're going to show you how to delete the column using the menu, the ribbon and the tab. So it says right here, delete sheet columns. So you delete sheet columns. So I've showed you two ways to delete the columns. The first way that you delete the column is from the finger tab, the finger pad. And then the second way that you delete the column is from the ribbon and the tab. So we can come over here and then we select cell B6 and we type Control C to copy it, and then we type Control V to paste it. Now it says example of moving a row. So let's see what we've got here. It says example of moving a row. So we're going to come over here, A18. We're going to say row to move. And then we're going to embolden it. So what we want to do is we want to move it to row 20. So one way that you can do it excuse me, is click onto the row by clicking onto number 18, and then you can double click on it, and then when you double click on it, you say delete. I didn't do that wrong. I didn't do that right. So you double click on it, and you say cut, and you move it, and then you take your cursor and you move it over to 20. And then you can either do a Control V, which is going to paste it, or you can double click on the cell and you can say insert cut cells. And when you insert cut cells, it says, it puts it in 19. It wasn't supposed to put it in 19. It was supposed to put it in 20. So let's try this again. So if you insert cut cells, then it's going to put it in the row above the row that you had the cell highlighted. And another way that you can move a cell is you can come over here. You can highlight the row that you want, number 19, and you can go to delete, and you can say delete cells, and you'll delete the cells. And then you can come over here to number 18, and then you can click on the insert, and it says insert cells, and it says entire row. So we're going to say entire row, but that didn't do it right either. So we're going to, you did actually move it. You did actually move it, but you didn't get the row to move. But I did show you how you can delete a cell or delete a row and insert a row. But what you want is you want to cut the row. And then when you cut the row, we'll take it over to number 17. And you can go to the ribbon in the Home tab, and you can say Insert Cut Cells. So those are just some ways that you can move a row. But we can say here, so here you've got Insert, and then here you've got Delete, and here you've got Format. And I don't see any move or copy cells. The way that I've always done it was you cut the cell, and then you move it somewhere else, paste it somewhere else. That's how I've always done it. And there's nowhere that I can see on the menus that allows you to actually move a cell. That's how I move it. So we're just going to move it here. So you're going to highlight B7 and drop Control-C to copy it, and then Control, and on B8, Control-V to paste it. And you're going to have an example of moving a column. So we're just going to say, so we want column to move in number F, and we're going to widen the column by selecting the right side of F, and with your left finger, touch your finger pad on your left finger, and then with your right finger, move it. So what you want to do is we want to move a column. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this column over to column H. So what you do is you highlight column F, because that's the column we want to move, and double click on it, And I don't see any instructions to move. So what I would do is I would cut it. And then you go to H where you've cut it and double click on it and you paste it. But it doesn't want to paste. So how I would do that is I would do Control V. You see. So you can type Control X to cut it. And then on H, you do Control V to paste it. And so that's going to move it from F to H. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it again. So you highlight F, and then what you do is you on your finger pad you double click on your finger pad to say cut. And then you go over to H and you double click on the finger pad and it should say insert cut cells. And so you insert cut cells, but it hasn't inserted them to H, it's inserted them to G. So that's where it's a little bit problematic. But the best way that I found to do it is you select column F, type Control X, which means you're cutting the entire cell. Take your cursor and put it on H1 and then type Control V. So you're going to paste the entire cell. So that's the way I found that's the best way to do it. And I've shown you different ways that you can do it in Excel with varying degrees of success, but I find Control C, Control X, and Control V to be the best way to do it, but there are other ways you can do it. So we're going to move a column. We're going to go to this check mark, which is BA, and we're going to type Control C to copy it, and then we're going to type Control V to paste it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to resize the row. And so we're going to take out row to move. We're just going to take that out. And we're going to take out column to move. We're just going to take that out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say on number 18, A18, row to, we're going to say row to resize, and then we're going to highlight number 18, and we're going to click on B to embolden it. And then so one way that you can do it, which I've showed you how to do it in previous lessons, is it's similar to the way that you resize a column, but instead of clicking onto the column, you're actually clicking onto the row. So you go to the bottom of number 18, and with your finger pad, take the cross and put it on number 18. And take your left finger on the finger pad and move it down. And what that will do is that will make your row. You can resize your row to anything that you want. Another way that you can do it is you can format cells. And then I personally don't see any resize there, but where it says here, maybe you've got over here where it says format, you can select the row height. And then so at the moment the row height is 42. So we're going to change the row height to 10. So you can see that when you change the row height to 10, that the row is a lot smaller than it previously had been. And so you can click on to format again, and you can say auto fit row height. So we're going to auto fit row height. So we've auto fitted row to resize. So we have changed the row height, resize the row. So we go back to our check, we type Control-C, and then we go to B10 and we type Control-V. So you can see that we have resized the row. We resized the column several times. Several times we resized the column. But let's come over here. Type call to, we're going to type column to resize. We click on number H because the column that we're on is number H. And then we can go over here to format, and you can say auto fit row width. So what's going to happen is it makes the column smaller. And then another thing that you can do is auto fit. We've already done the auto fit column width, but you can set it up for a default. So it says standard width is 8.09. So you click OK. But we're going to do it again. Default width, we're going to say 14. And then so we've changed the standard fit to number 14. And so what has happened is we have made all of the columns wider when we have reset the default width. So let's change the default width to 10. So now you can see that when we change the default width to 10, you can see that the column widths are smaller. And so I showed you several ways that you can change the width. You can resize a column, change the width of a column. There's several ways. I've done it in the previous 3 lessons, and so we're just doing it formally in this lesson. So we come over here where it says resize column, and the tick is already there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hide a row. So we come over here, we say row to hide. So we're going to do row to hide, and we're going to embolden it. So this is the row that we want to hide, row number 21. So it comes over here where it says hide. So you click on to hide, and now row number 21 is hidden. And then what you can do and so I'm going to try to unhide it. So we're going to go to 20 and then 22, and we're going to unhide it. So basically when we went to 20 to 22, 21 was in 20 to 22, so we've unhidden it. And then another thing that you can do is you can come over here to format, and it says visibility. It says hide and unhide. So we're going to hide a row. So we've hidden it. And then format again. You can click on visibility, and you can say unhide rows. And you can unhide it. So that's a way that you can actually unhide rows. So I personally don't hide rows, but I know that some people if there's lots of information, that some people will hide rows, especially if they have information that they want to go to a client, or maybe not a client, or a manager or a superior or something like that, then they might hide their row. And then it's like, we can say here, column. You can also hide a column. So I've showed you how to hide a row, so we're going to tick that. So on cell B11, we're going to type Control C, and then on B9, we're going to type Control V, so let you know you completed it. So now we're going to, and we've also unhid a row, so we're going to type Control V there. And then now we're going to hide a column. So the way that you hide a column is very similar to the way that you hide a row. So you're going to double click on it, and you can say hide number H. So now what you've got is you've got G and I, and H is hidden. But what you can do is you can come over here to H, and you type unhide. Well, that's not working, but you can click on G and I, and then you can double click unhide, and that will unhide H. And another way that you can hide a column is you can go to Format, and you can say Visibility, Hide and Unhide. So you can say Hide Columns, so you can hide it. And then you go back to Format and Visibility, and you go Hide and Unhide, and then you say Unhide Columns. And you can also hide sheets. I mean, I personally don't hide sheets, but if you wanted to hide a sheet, you can come over here. You can, I'll just clear that out. You can come over here. We'll say the sheet that you want to hide, and it will say hide. And so now you've hidden it, but I'm going to undo it. And then you can also go into Format, and you can say hide and unhide. So you can hide a sheet. So we've hid number 5. You can go back to Format, and you can go hide and unhide, and you can say unhide sheet, and it says lesson 5, and you say okay. And then again, we'll hide lesson 5. So lesson 5 is hidden, and then we'll unhide it again. It says lesson 5. So that's actually how you can hide a sheet. So hiding a sheet wasn't actually a part of this lesson plan, but I thought, well, since we're hiding rows and columns, I may as well show you how to hide a sheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to tick off what we just done. So we're going to go to B13. We're going to go Control C, and then we're going to say 14 and 15, and then go Control V. So what that's telling you is that we've completed all the tasks in this lesson, because of the 12 tasks, we've completed all the tasks. And then in addition to that, I showed you how to hide and unhide a sheet as well. I mean, I personally, and the work I do, I don't really need to hide a row or a column or a sheet, but some people may need to. And so if you need to, the facility is there to do it. So I've gone over everything that's part of this lesson. I hope that you got something out of this lesson, that you learned how to manipulate the rows and the columns and the sheets. And the next lesson is going to be on sorting and filtering. So I certainly hope that you decide to watch the next lesson as well. So thank you so much for watching this video. I will be communicating with you in the next video.